Just as a note before starting this episode, and feel free to skip this whole introduction if you're just here for the toolbox information. This episode was shot and planned out 2 months ago, just about when the COVID-19 virus started taking hold on our country. Alex was starting to edit the video, but he himself and his entire family ended up catching the disease, and they all got pretty sick. He's better now, and he was able to finish the episode now, just recently. But I thought it was interesting to maybe see his perspective on catching this disease. It's been affecting people differently, but his family got hit pretty hard on it. So let's see what he has to say. We're gonna find him on the house party app. Let's see. Okay, we got Alex in the house. He's on the app. Alex, tell me, what do you want to tell the people? How was this disease? How was it?
It's something you definitely don't want to have. We almost lost my mother. She had to go to the hospital twice. The rest of us, we didn't get it as bad, but going through it, we didn't know which way it was going to swing. We didn't know that it was going to end up not being so bad for us. It was very scary because you don't know, basically you don't know if you can die or not.
I'll say for me, like, it just seems like it's not real. Like, you see it on the TV, but like, it just seems like this is not happening.
Yeah, that's the way I felt about it until it got to New York. You know, you've heard about certain outbreaks throughout the years in my time growing up. You know, there's Ebola outbreaks in Africa. There was SARS back in, I don't know, my college years out in China. And when this started, you know, I thought it would be like one of those where it's like, oh, there's some outbreak, but it's far away and it'll die down. And
right, that's what it feels like. It feels like just happening somewhere else, and it's...
Yeah, and that's sort of how I felt about, or what I hoped would be the case when I first heard about this. You know, then it obviously came to New York and has hit New York pretty hard. So if there's any message I have about the virus or people who haven't experienced it firsthand, it's that it definitely is very real. It is deadly. Like I said, almost lost my mother. I know several people who have passed away. I know people, even young people, you know, and that's another thing, is don't assume you're exempt because of your age. I know my sister, who's about 30, she has some friends of hers who are also 30 years old, who were in the hospital on oxygen for 2 weeks. And then I know people who are in their 60s or 70s who had like barely any symptoms, maybe the sniffles. You can't tell which way it's going to go. Don't consider yourself exempt because of your age.
How long were you sick for? How long were you feeling just bad?
About a good month. A good month. Even still, like, it's been about another month now that I felt mostly better, but even still, like, I feel certain odd stuff sometimes that I think may still actually be the virus still kind of not fully gone from my system. I'm not sure. But definitely, I was clearly sick for about a month. And there would be moments in there where I felt better, and I'd think like, oh, I'm done. Finally, this is out of my system. And then it would come back a day or two later.
Right, right. I've heard that. It comes back, and it takes a really long time for people to get rid of it.
Yes, that is very true.
If it hits you hard. I guess I've also heard people who have gotten it and they get the Corona Light. They're like better in 2 or 3 days, but you get the Corona Extra and it's bad. How's your mom doing now? She was in the hospital 2 times. How's she feeling like right now?
She's better now. She seems pretty much fully recovered, thankfully. Like I was saying, you can't necessarily count on what you hear about age. My mother's in her 70s. She has diabetes. She has high blood pressure, all sorts of health problems. She had another infection on top of the virus, like she just happened to have at the time that she caught the virus. Basically, so we thought she was going to pass away because she fits, this demographic profile of people who are most likely to die. And then she didn't. And then some of my sister's friends, who I said are like 30, were like friends of friends, not the ones I mentioned who were in the hospital on oxygen, but other people that she knows personally, her age, have actually died from it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you are doing better. I'm glad things are finally back to normal for you.
So if there's any message in closing I have, it's that, even though we're all sick of hearing about this and we want it to be done, tired of that news cycle that we've been having for months now, don't kid yourself and think that it's gone or that it's not real or that it can't very easily sprout up wherever you are. I hear in Florida it's actually heating up now.
I know. People in Florida are really relaxed about it. Really relaxed, and it's not gone yet. There's no vaccine. It's still very much out there.
It's actually rising there.
It's rising a little bit. Yeah, because I think people are being more responsible still. Like the masks, people are staying apart from each other, not shaking hands, but they're going out, so it's coming up not as hard. But I don't want to get it. I mean, I don't want to get sick like that. Anyway, thank you for sharing that.
Well, grateful to be back, grateful to be alive, and that I haven't lost any loved ones. I'm very glad to be a slave to mopeds again.
Slave to mopeds? Yeah. Can't forget about that.
That was good.
All right, Alex, I'll let you go. Back to the episode.
This is a boring one.
No, it's good. Informational. Although we do have more exciting stuff coming, and if there was anything else to mention, the Patreon page is active, and we've got 7 dedicated people up there right now, which is awesome. If you want to join that and support the company and see some behind the scenes stuff, Patreon. I have the link down there somewhere. Moped Problems.
Yep.
All right.
I'll see you later.
See you, buddy. Welcome back, people. Today I like to talk about toolboxes, quality differences between brands, and maybe age differences, the older toolboxes versus new toolboxes. I've learned a lot today. I'd like to share that with you. This whole thing started because I got this brand new box, which is fantastic. High quality. Always wanted something as nice as this, and now I got one. Mwah. I got my old Craftsman, a couple years old. And then I have this ancient Craftsman, which is very old. And then this pile of garbage, which is made by Westward. And this whole thing is coming from repairing the Westward, so that it's up to par with the other toolboxes. I actually spent a lot of time on the Craftsman. I made a bunch of improvements. Everything was like a pleasure. It was fine. It came out fine. But the Westward, I mean, I'm not really crazy about it. I had the assumption that toolboxes were generally the same, and you were paying for brand, and maybe you're paying for more expensive gliders, the rails, the track that opens up the drawers. I'm familiar with the old Craftsman style, you know, metal on metal gliders, and then the newer stuff, it's got little ball bearings in there so that it glides nicer. And then the really nice stuff has ball bearings and then slow closing action. Ooh, like a high-end kitchen drawer, you know, you slam it shut and it kind of cushions and tucks itself in. And that's really nice, especially when you have a drawer that's filled with like 100, maybe 200 pounds of tools. It's so easy to just slam that thing and it, you know, boom. I don't know what kind of damage you're doing to the toolbox. Probably not much damage, but it's definitely loud and it can get aggravating. It's a little annoying. So going through the toolbox, it's just like slam. Oh, nope, not that. I don't know where it is. It adds to the confusion. It adds to the stress. And then, but these, oof, that's all nice. And I know that, but when it comes down to, hey, I wanna buy a cheap toolbox, what's the difference? They all have the cheap rollers, so they're all sort of the same. It's not so, and I'm discovering this with this Westward. I'm not really crazy about it. Well, let me show you. So the Westward has the rail style that works just like the Craftsman. It's not so much the rails themselves, but the little guys that hold the rails, they're so flimsy and they like bend out. They come off too easy, like that's off the track now. That door is not gonna shut proper, and you gotta go in and like bend these little tabs to get it to sit right. It's just not as good. And then what else? The gauge of the metal is drastically different. The thickness of the metal. The cheaper box and maybe the older Craftsman, it's like 22 gauge. How thick is it really? Let's look. Using my calipers, we're gonna see how thick the metal is on these toolboxes. The drawers and the body of the box are usually different thicknesses. The drawers are gonna be a little thinner. Let's start with the thickest one, the Westward. 0.028. That's the thickness of the drawer itself. And the body's 0.035. 35 hundredths of an inch. If you were gonna do it in millimeters, it's like 0.9 millimeters, like almost 1 millimeter thick. We've got a chart going on. Drawer thickness, the structure thickness, imperial and metric. Let's see what the old Craftsman does now. All right, so the old Craftsman had thinner drawers. Instead of 0.028, it was 0.025, so just a tad thinner on the drawers, but definitely thicker on the structure. A little give and take there. I do realize that paint is a factor as well. It's gonna affect how thick these readings are, but I don't know how to really honestly dive into that without like removing the paint and taking a measurement. So they're all gonna have a little added thickness. Let's not assume that it's the paint I'm measuring, that one just has thicker paint. Just know that there is paint there and that's gonna add to the thickness, but it's gonna be the same. I'm seeing different strengths in between the brands, and that's the whole point. Let's check out the Craftsman roller. Probably 20, 30 years newer than the old Craftsman. I'm already seeing a huge strength change in the drawer here. The new Craftsman drawer liner has like a bent piece. There's a certain area where it's double ply, and that's definitely gonna add strength. I don't know if I should consider that as the thickness, because it's not, but it's an added measure that strengthening. You can see the spot where it's not bent over, but all this is rounded over, so it's thicker and stronger because of that. Of course, you got that nice roller bearing drawer action. Very nice. Let's see how thick. So that roller, best so far. 0.038 drawer, look at that, look at those numbers. Plus there's that whole section where that folds over, so that's like double. If you think about metric, that's practically a 1 millimeter thick drawer, and the others are like just over 0.5 millimeter. And then the body is even thicker, 0.065. Look at the difference. And then of course, that's like 1 and a little over 0.5 millimeters thick. That's so much thicker. The new style roller Craftsman that I got, it's pretty heavy duty, and I have this thing loaded too. I have like everything I could possibly need doing a repair. Only a couple drawers in the top, but like, it's gotta be like 300 pounds worth of stuff. It's a lot, and it handles it no problems, no problems. Now for the grand finale, the Kolbalt, which I'm assuming is gonna be the best. It's a really nice, kind of expensive toolbox, so it better be up there. So Kolbalt makes it a little bit more confusing actually. They have a series of thicknesses and double ply metals. Totally understand why this is important. Certain thicknesses where you need strength, certain thicknesses where you don't need the strength, so it's a little more complicated, but overall it's much nicer. Let me explain. Really want strength down the spine here. I mean, the track's right there, but you notice that this is the thickness I've seen so far. That's over 1 millimeter thick on the drawer. We haven't seen that yet. That's super, super thick. But the handle on the same drawer, it's a different thickness. It is thinner. Not that it makes it weak. I mean, maybe I see a little bit of a flex there, but you don't need heavy metal. This is just pulling the drawer shut. You want it here. You want the thickness here, not so much here. So it's two different thicknesses. I think it's built better. I think that's better quality. But I wanted to just explain that. One of them is a little thinner, but it's where it doesn't matter. Now for the body. Oh, the body. This is one side of the body. It has a thickness metal, and then outside. This whole piece is all together, and that's the structure. And it goes all the way down. Even in the bottom section, like this center piece is double. This is all double and bent. It's like crazy strong. Crazy strong. Even on the top, everything's sort of like bent around, and then they add this piece here to add structure to the top. Double metal, all double. The metal that they're using isn't as thick. It doesn't have to be. This is what it is. I actually read two different readings, of 0.036 and a 0.032. Those are all under 1 millimeter thick, but they're double. You're getting a lot of structure there. And looking at these as a whole, it's clear that there is a progression here. The Kolbalt's definitely the highest quality. Oh, those drawers. And the roller Craftsman is actually pretty good. I mean, look at that drawer. Look at that structure. And then of course the Westward, paper thin, paper thin. Thanks for bearing with me on this one. I thought this was interesting. And if you're toolbox shopping, looking for something used, if you're looking for something new, I mean, whatever your needs are, you're always wondering about these details. And these details are not in the seller's point. You know, they're not in the manual, like, oh, we use this. It's really hard to find that information, so there it is. We got t-shirts for sale on the site. If you haven't seen them yet, they're brand new. Moped problems, don't forget about mopeds, second stroke. It's a limited run. We've only made it was like 50 shirts, so there's not that many out there. We'd appreciate you supporting our cause. This is Pete from Second Stroke Mopeds saying, don't forget about mopeds. We'll see you next week.